Well, hello and welcome to a brand new edition of the Community Collective Podcast. I am Travis Howell, the Executive Director of the Davidson Area Chamber of Commerce. My friend Johnny B. Good, the OG flip-flop agent, is out showing some houses today, and which is exciting because the sun's shining, so I know he's busy. But I figured, what a way to start off and talk to someone that can find out the best way to help people relax and just zone out from maybe a busy week or a stressful day. Today, I'm joined by one of my friends, Cailen Schmieder, with 10 o'clock Health and Wellness. Cailen, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Travis.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that you're busy. You already had some clients in today that were looking for the best place and best time to relax and just get their week started off really probably the best way possible with a
Yes,
massage.
I think so.
So, Keelan, we'll kind of jump into it. And I know there's a lot of information that probably our listeners want to learn about and hear about, especially kind of find out ways that they can figure out where you are and how to make a reservation. And we'll cover a lot of that as we go through it. So, Keelan, can you share with us what inspired you to pursue a career in massage therapy? And how has your education played a role in your professional development?
Yeah, so my career in massage therapy came a little later than maybe I would have liked it to. I went to U of M Flint fresh out of college, originally for physical therapy. And unfortunately, that same year of my senior year of high school, my dad was in a really bad car accident, ended up being quadriplegic because of that. And the demands at home were extremely high. And I ended up not being able to necessarily be able to balance the workload of like the physical therapy program and the beginning phases of that, plus being present at home with my family. So I took a step back from the PT stuff and I finished my time at U of M Flint with a bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in finance, which is obviously helpful now. But at the time, I felt like I was kind of taking an easier route, but I didn't want to leave college completely either. I got kind of put into the hospitality industry, worked there for a really long time, had a lot of success with it, mostly in leadership roles, was really into personal development and making sure that my team felt heard and making sure that my staff felt as though they had a safe space to be, you know, employed and available. And I ended up wanting more from myself over time. And I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And during COVID, everything kind of slowed down and I kind of switched gears and I took a part-time job and was able to really go back to school and focus on what I wanted to do and what I felt like I was supposed to do. So about 3 years ago now, I went back to school at Irene's Myomassology Institute down in Southfield, and they have a year-long program for massage therapy. It was, depending on where you were at in the program, it was like 3 to 5 days a week down in Southfield, and the school was amazing. I had toured up here in Lapeer and in Flint too, but there was just really a vibe really down at Irene's, and it felt safe and it felt like, when you were there, like the chaos of the world stopped at those walls. And I really enjoyed my time there. And now I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I love my job. It's never felt like work, and I get to do lots of cool stuff and meet lots of cool people.
Yeah, well, it really seems like your background in hospitality really kind of probably helps you now too, because you're already,
Yeah.
I think, dealing with people from all types of backgrounds. But then the fact that you worked on the team and you want to make sure they felt heard and you cared about them and want them to be in a
Mhm.
good atmosphere. I mean, I feel like health and wellness is exactly the same thing, just a little different
Yeah.
process on how you help
Yep.
people out.
Yeah.
But it really seems like you're dealing with so many people and they're ready to probably just come to you and zone out and just
Hmm.
kind of find that method. And to be honest, I know my mom was just in there
Yes.
recently and my dad had gotten it for her as a gift. And she called, or I saw her the next day and she was talking about how relaxed she felt. And she goes, I'm going to tell
Yeah.
everybody about it. So she was telling my wife about it. So, which is great. And I know you have
Yeah.
the built in clientele that has followed you because you do such a good job. But word of mouth is, getting people in there and they leave and just tell people what a great experience it
Mm.
seems that they've had just because they're looking for that place. You share your passion and it really comes through in how much you care about helping people out.
Yeah. And the word of mouth, especially being in a smaller town like Davison, it's been huge for my career. And I've been here my whole life. I never left, and a lot of people were like, "You're really gonna start a business in your hometown?" I was like, "Well, yeah, where else would I go? Like, I know everybody here and I'm comfortable here and I have this beautiful community of people supporting me." And last year I joined the chamber and that's been game changing for my career as well, and being active in social media and community posts. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the clients that I have on the table and then they go and tell other people what a great experience they had and what we were able to accomplish, and it's really made a huge difference in how successful I've been able to be here.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's great. In your practice, how do you tailor your massage techniques to meet individual needs of your clients? And what are
Yeah.
some of the most common concerns they come to you with?
Yeah. So it seems like everybody has issues like in their shoulders. I always tell my clients, like, in between now and then, make sure you're keeping your shoulders out of your ears because we all get so stressed, and living in general right now is kind of stressful. So it's really important to kind of check our bodies and make sure that, we're maintaining good posture and good habits. But yeah, a lot of people have shoulder issues. A lot of issues lie in the hip area. I mean, I see clients from barbers and hairstylists to people that have been on the front lines before and people that are working on their feet all day or they're driving all day. So every body literally is different and every session is different. Massage session twice, even on the same client. So maybe the reason you came to me is because you had a major issue and we had to take a few sessions to address it. But now we're just, we're at a point where we can maintain and keep you out of that feeling and we're not chasing the problem anymore. But now we're just seeing each other maybe once a month because you just want to chill out and you realize that there's many different advantages to massage. It's not just to relax, it's not just to unwind. And obviously those are important things, but we're fixing real issues here in the treatment room and we're making huge differences in bodies on the table. So I think it's important to remember that it's it's not even necessarily a luxury as much as people get more stressed, more things are on their plate, life gets tougher. Like, it's really a good way to get your body back to a baseline and back to how you're supposed to be feeling.
If someone that's listening today is really
Mhm.
interested in something like this, where is 10 o'clock health and wellness located? And what's the best ways for people to reserve a time to come in for a
Yeah.
massage?
Yeah, so I'm right here in Davison. I'm off of Lapeer Road, right at the Gale intersection. The actual address is 9090 Lapeer Road. I'm in Unit C. I'm right in between the Church and Sons building and then Serendipity, which is a nail and hair salon, is right on the other side of me. So I've got a beautiful suite and treatment room here with huge lobby that we actually do yoga in on Monday nights and Saturday mornings. So it's not just massage here. So kind of a one-stop shop for wellness. My work line is 810-853-1300, so pretty easy to remember. And then we're going to link my massage book profile, which is my booking site, to somewhere within the social media posts for the podcast. But
Yes.
yeah, online booking is usually the easiest to kind of play with your schedule and see when I'm available. But the next best option is that cell phone number because that goes directly to me. So if you can't find anything online or you can't find anything for your schedule, I can usually kind of manipulate my time, especially if I'm already here, to make myself available to you.
Well, and I know that a great way to learn what you're offering and to find out more about you too is you're very active on social media, showing your spaces, and all your contact information is on your Facebook page and
Mhm.
Instagram page, which I think is nice and easy for people at home too. That if they want to
Yeah.
find out more about you or if they need help finding that information again. But I know,
Yeah.
and then actually I had a note that before as we were chatting is that yeah, you guys also offer yoga a couple
Yeah.
times a week, if I remember right.
Yeah. We just started that in early June. We do a Monday evening class. There's one at 5:30 that's more focused towards beginners. So maybe you're intimidated by the thought of yoga and you don't know the verbiage, you don't know the movement, but you want to get into it and you've been looking at it, but you didn't really know where to start. So that's the perfect class for somebody that's just kind of diving into it. And then there's a 7 o'clock portion as well, which is a little bit quicker of a pace, a little bit more along the lines of people that have already been in the classes for a while. And then same thing on Saturday morning at 9:30. We do what's called a vinyasa flow. So that's a really good way to kick off your weekend. And it's actually my cousin Kelly, who is a certified yoga instructor. So we've kind of teamed up to offer a couple different things here for people.
Well, which is perfect. I mean, because your name includes the words health and wellness, and what better
Mm-hmm.
way to figure out yoga for just kind of that relaxing, focusing on just yourself. And I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, and I probably am not flexible enough to try it. So beginner class would be definitely for me. But then
Yeah.
probably while you're in there, you can probably sign up for a massage too at some point, looking at your schedule. So which is I think a great thing if for you all is here's a one-stop shop for kind of just relaxing, and it's
Yeah.
easy access to get to. I feel like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
have probably driven past it, and I think the nice thing is your sign is nice and big and visible,
Yeah.
especially when you're stopping at the traffic light. You can see it right there. So, Cailen, kind of explain to me a little bit more. What's one of the most impactful experiences you've had as a massage therapist where you really felt like you made a significant difference in a client's well-being?
Okay. Yeah. I've got a couple different clients that stand out for this kind of storyline that I've created within my career, but I had one client pretty early in my practice where she was physically like delivered to my room because she couldn't walk. And I remember her husband brought her and she was laying in the back seat of their Jeep Cherokee and she ran into the building and basically plopped down on the table because she couldn't be upright for more than a few seconds or else it was just excruciating pain. And I remember doing her actual client intake with her in the treatment room while she was laying on the table and I was filling out her stuff for her. But a doctor had diagnosed her with what's called piriformis syndrome. And that's a tiny little band of muscle that sits right underneath the big muscle in your bottom, the glute max. And it's very hard to get to, it's very hard to work. But she was having a really hard time being upright because of her job and a really hard time just functioning in general. Like it was debilitating for her. And she had gotten referred to me from another therapist in the area who knew that I had a background of working on this between that and my sports training stuff. And we had, I think, so that session went great, excruciatingly painful for her, but worth it kind of thing, like a good kind of hurt. And then we finished up that session and she was able to sit upright and stand up off the table. And we were able to walk back into the lobby together. And that really solidified at the time, like, okay, I meant to do this. Like I'm making physical changes on people on the table within about an hour of time. As long as they're open and willing to work with me, then there's a whole lot of stuff that we can accomplish together. And then we had scheduled it out so that we saw each other 4 weeks in a row for hour sessions at a time. And by the second session, she had drove herself there, wasn't quite back to work yet just because her main job was sitting. And then by the third and fourth sessions, she was driving, she was upright, she was feeling good, and she was back to daily life with no pain. And now I see her maybe every 5 to 6 weeks just to kind of like maintain it if she's got other issues that come up. But really, she just comes in to relax now and we catch up and we chit chat while she's on the table. And she's become a really great friend. If I don't see her for a while, she'll call me and check in and see how I'm doing. Her husband comes to me now and her cousin comes to me and she refers other people to me that have the same issues because it's not an area that's talked about enough. And it's an issue that maybe if you're feeling that way, maybe it's a little embarrassing, like, "Well, I can't stand up because my butt hurts." So but it's important because if you've got an issue, like, chances are I can help you with it, and I can, air quote, "fix it" for you, or at least get you feeling back to a place where you're more comfortable in your own body. So that was really rewarding, kinda solidified that I'm doing the right thing, and then, not to be long-winded, but there's a second client too that comes to mind who I still see weekly, and when we first started working together, I was actually at my treatment room over at the gym fitness center in Flint Township, a treatment room there as well for about a year and a half, and she had came to me at first because she couldn't do normal movements with her left arm. So she was having a hard time reaching straight out. She was having a hard time reaching behind her. And there was this hole in her shoulder and this pain that just kept her kind of seized up. And We used to do just quick half-hour sessions, which are great for concentrated areas to kind of attack a problem, but you don't really want to stay for a whole session. We were able to kind of pinpoint the area, and we're about a year and a half in, and same thing for her. I remember she called me and she was like, Cailen, I was able to reach up in my cupboard without getting on the step stool because I can move my arm up into the air instead of reaching straight out in front of me. And I think it's kind of those little things that maybe we take for granted that, I don't have to get up on a stool to get into my pantry anymore. Like that kind of stuff is a big deal for people. And especially as our bodies change and we get older, like there's things that maybe we can't do like we used to, but that doesn't mean that you have to deal with it. There's people like me and there's physical therapists and there's some chiropractors in the area. Use your resources. You don't have to live with these things that you have to deal with.
Those are two amazing examples of people that you've really changed their lives through just taking the time to work with them, work on those muscles, or work on like the parts that they're really struggling with. And
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I know at some point in life something's going to go on. You get these individuals coming in, like you just mentioned, that they've been struggling probably for a long time, and you've made such an impactful change in their life that they're able to enjoy it again. And that's it. I think that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people are probably looking for ways to do it. And what better natural way to do it than come
Hmm.
in for kind of massage therapy and just help you change your life?
Yeah. And that has been like a huge push for the industry too, is that the more people feel surrounded by like big farm and getting pushed medication and not being heard, at these appointments of what's wrong with them and what's bothering them and just kind of band-aiding it with meds, it's frustrating. And a lot of these issues can be maybe not solved, but you could certainly find a better quality of life with massage therapy and other kinds of treatments in my same industry, So I think it's important for people to understand that maybe medication isn't what you need. And if it's not what you want, then you definitely need to kind of be open to discussing that and kind of looking at other alternative ways of treatment for yourself, because there's no reason why any able-bodied person should have to suffer through anything.
Yeah. So, with all of your experience, what advice would you give someone considering a career in massage therapy? And then the second part of that, are there particular skills or personal qualities that you believe are essential for success in this field?
Yeah, so definitely being a people person is kind of a big deal. I kind of go by my dad's method of life. Like, I've never met a stranger. I'm willing to have conversation with anybody and get to the root of who a person is as an individual. I think that's important when going into a field like this or any position where you're going to be one-on-one with either a client or a patient. So that's really important, is to have an open mind and being willing to maybe have difficult conversations with people to really get to the root of their problem. And I've found with massage therapy is that maybe you have an issue because you use this limb or this part of your body for work, or maybe you have repetitive use of, whatever joint. But a lot of times there's a bigger issue going on there. So I find that like the body hangs on to trauma. So maybe you had a car accident 20 years ago, when sometimes that pain and that kind of impact stays in your body for a long time. And a lot of people think, well, that was so long ago, like there's no way. But like we kind of have to look at the big picture, and we have to be willing to have maybe emotional conversations, and you have to be okay with that, because there's going to be clients on your table that maybe have an emotional release and they didn't know that they needed it and they're confused that it's happening, but maybe that's their body like letting go of stuff. So it's not just about hands on a body for massage therapy. Like some of it's a little bit of shock therapy, and you got to be kind of willing to uncover stuff with people. And if you're interested in getting into the field of massage therapy, I would just jump right in. I mean, it's kind of like a trade school, so you don't have to have any kind of further education past high school for it. It's something that is probably the most rewarding and meaningful thing that I ever did for myself. And I'm actually back at school now. I started back at Irene's at the end of June. I'm in their apprenticeship program now. So every Thursday, I go down for about 4 or 5 hours and I'm hands-on right there assisting the teachers, and I'm in a hands-on setting in the hands-on classrooms. It's been really rewarding to be back at school and seeing it from the other side because now I don't have the pressures of people watching me like a hawk. And I don't have the pressures of testing every couple weeks. I can really just enjoy the program for what it was. And I feel like it's making me a better therapist too. Like there's some stuff that we learned at the beginning of the program that I just kind of forgot about because I was settling into being back at school and I was getting used to commuting and the traffic. And it was a lot all at once. But now I'm seeing stuff and I'm reincorporating it into my practice. So I would say if you're interested in something like that, definitely make sure that you're doing your due diligence and you're going to open houses at schools. You're allowing the school to kind of be interviewed by you because it's got to be the right vibe and it's got to be the right feeling. And I think it's one of those like when you know kind of things. There's a great campus in Flint at the Flint School of Therapeutic Massage. There's a great campus in Lapeer. I felt the best at Irene, so that's why I was willing to commute. And I'm obviously doing it again, so I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I would say if you've got a yearning need to help people and you're interested at all in the human body and kind of how we move in space and helping people in general, I would absolutely consider a career in massage therapy for anybody.
Well, and I feel like, especially in your field too, there's always those opportunities for that kind of continuing education and learning
Mhm.
the best way to, help and serve the people that are coming into your business. And that's what you
Yeah.
want. I mean, you want to probably be up to date on newer things to see how they work. And that's probably what you're getting by going back. And not only are you helping
Mhm.
future individuals go into the field, but you're probably still learning some new things yourself, which is probably
Yeah.
very beneficial.
For sure.
So now
Yeah.
we'll kind of finish up a little bit here, but looking ahead, how do you see the field of massage therapy evolving, and what trends or innovations are you excited about incorporating into your practice?
I think that as massage therapy kind of evolves, there's always different forms of continued education kind of hitting the street for our industry. And one of them that I really kind of dove into over the last year since I got my licensing finished up through the state, there's a modality called craniosacral therapy. And the school that I went to is the Upledger Institute. It's based out of Palm Beach, Florida. And John Upledger designed it and created it. And he actually is a graduate from Michigan State. So I thought that that was kind of cool how everything kind of tied together. But it's a way for the therapist to essentially connect to the nervous system of the client. And there's a whole different rhythm in the body called craniosacral rhythm. And it's really a means to allow your body to come back to a baseline that maybe you didn't realize that you needed. So it's really good for people with anxiety or mood disorders or bipolar, or maybe you're hanging on to something and you don't understand why you can't shake it. And it's got a whole separate kind of portal into these holds that you can do on different bones in the skull and intraoral stuff. So I've been able to work on clients that have really bad TMJ disorder, and we've been able to do jaw releases, and then that allows them to release other parts of their body. And just there's a whole rabbit hole. I would strongly urge that if you are considering massage therapy, to make sure that you're setting yourself up to not necessarily put yourself into like a niche, because I don't think that that's necessary in this industry, but make sure that you're exploring different options for when you're out of school, really getting your your state board or your board license from massage therapy. That's really just kind of like your permission to venture out into all of these different areas of a career. So I mean, you could go into orthopedics, you could go into spinal cord rehab, you could go to equine therapy stuff and work on horses, and there's a whole animal genre that you could go into, and there's somato-emotional release, so you're kind of cueing yourself into your client's body and allowing them to just hold space with you. And it's amazing how big the industry is outside of just having the licensing and in the therapy world.
Wow, that's
um
amazing.
I it's surprising
It's
how we kind of give ourselves permission to freestyle once we're out of school, but man, there's some cool stuff out there that you can really explore once you actually have your license and you're capable of getting into those other classes, and you can travel. And craniosacral has this whole setup down in Florida where they incorporate dolphins into the usage of craniosacral, where your client's in a pool and you as the therapist and the dolphin are communicating for craniosacral. And it's
Ah,
just wild. So
that is,
this whole, yeah.
it's so hard to imagine, but I'm sure you have to find something that works for each individual because we're all so
Mm,
unique. One
yeah.
thing might work for me, but work differently for one of my friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
especially a wonderful thing about massage therapy or any type of therapy like that is that there's so many options out there to help someone heal their body and find ways
Mm.
to just relax and get themselves into a better spot, which
Yeah,
I
and I
love that.
think you kind of bring up a good point, and like what may not work for me might work for somebody else. Like I have multiple therapists for myself, and if for whatever reason me and a client don't click, then we don't click, and that's okay. If they're not feeling like I'm accomplishing what they had in their head, that's okay. But like myself, I've got a therapist that I go to when my jaw's acting up or I just have a lot of pressure in my head and I just need to chill out. And then I have a therapist that I go to when I need deep tissue work and I need to be stretched out. And I've got another PT person that I know that I just need to be kind of manipulated a little bit, then I go to him. So there's all different kinds of avenues of therapists. And I don't ever want a client of anybody's to think that, oh, well, I don't really like the way that this person works, or I didn't really have a good experience with them. Well, then try another one. Like don't table massage therapy just because you didn't like that therapist, because chances are there's someone else that your therapist knows that can help you.
Yeah. Well, Cailen, thank you so much for taking some time today. What is the best way for anyone that's interested in 10 o'clock health and wellness and getting some time reserved with you? What's the best way they can do that again?
So the phone number that would be easiest to reach me is 810-853-1300. And then I also have an online booking site via my portal. It's called Massage Book. So even if you just Googled Massage Book with my name, vice versa, you'd be able to find me easily. And then I've got a Google business listing and I'm on social media. So I'm a little bit of everywhere. I try to stay pretty active in the community groups. We can obviously link the Massage Book at the post when we make it. I do half hour, hour, and 90-minute sessions, sometimes 120 minutes, but those tend to be maybe a little bit too much time on the table for the client and for me. But I do offer them, and it's a good way to kind of tie in massage therapy plus cranio if you're interested in it. So a little bit of everything on the table is available. And as of right now, I'm booking into September. So I usually try to get my clients on maybe a reoccurring appointment. So if you know that you've got stuff you want to work on and you have a goal in mind, it's really best with any therapist really to be pretty persistent in your care and get on some sort of a revolving schedule just so that you're not chasing a problem. So that's important too.
Well, Cailen, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you definitely showed your passion for what you're doing, and I think your background working with people in the hospitality industry is definitely shown in what you're doing and how much you care. So we're always excited to learn more about local businesses and what they're offering residents. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
This was a lot of fun.